Testimony time. Testimony time. Super T Sigma goes into the journey through the Qliphoth. So I'm going to share some information on the Qliphoth and on my personal journey into the Qliphoth, dealing with each sphere. So let's start with the first one. The abyss. In the Kabbalah, it's called Rasak Mavdil. The abyss, the hidden one. So starting with this abyss is really the throat chakra. This is where that energy center is taking place when you're engaging in the confrontation and starting on your initiation into the Qliphoth. The abyss is a great place to start because it's letting you know that you're getting ready to change sides. This doesn't mean that you're going from good to evil, you understand. This is going from the perceived surface world to the imperceptible surface world, which lies beneath the surface, the hidden world, the world that exists in the middle of this reality. This is called the abyss. So in this abyss, there's some things that take place. The first thing that you're going to be cognizant of is failure. I failed in the abyss so many times, coming out of the occultic right-hand side that can sometimes be known as what is called Orthodox Christianity. The white witchcraft behind that side of Christianity, it will give you only a voice for God. This is not a bad thing when I say this, but it's a limited thing if the shepherds who are in charge of your spiritual development don't show you the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the abyss. The abyss is looked at from a Christian lens as a steep slope that you fall off. You go down a slope and descend into darkness. And so in this darkness, you got this river, this dark river, so to speak, inside the confrontation of finding your voice, where a lot of people drown, failed adepts. They drown in this river. They drown in the quest to find their voice, especially if they were brought up in an ideology that can suppress it. If you have one figurehead being a leader, which can sometimes mimic a totalitarian government under dictatorship, sometimes a lot of religions are ran this way when you have a figurehead, or when that shepherd is not being recognized as an intermediary, but as the one. You get man worship. And so the throat chakra is, you put on a choke chain. And so a lot of people drown in this abyss to find their voice. And so in some ways, I had a hard swim, a rough swim in the abyss, because in this, you got this nagging that will come from the older ideology, an older school of thought, your former school of thought that will say, hey, this is the forbidden tree. You're not supposed to bite of this fruit. This is the fruit that the serpent gave to Eve. You're not supposed, those voices can drown you if you're not willing to hear the other side of the story. Hearing the other side of the story is not choosing sides. You can learn about death and still choose life. In fact, if you don't learn enough about death, you might be under the illusion of life. Doesn't Proverbs give you certain examples where they say there is a way that seems like it's life, but in the end it pertains to death? So sometimes a false light can be placed on you in this quest to find your voice in the abyss. So all of what I knew from Christianity had to be stripped away in the finding of my true voice. And so I will fail in these different ideologies and scriptures and different preachers that would trip me up in my thinking, and I would just revert, like, no, I can't do this. I can't step out on my own. I can't think for my own. I got to accept what's there. I got to accept what my forefathers taught. I got to accept what my grandparents passed down. This is the way it is. The Bible is the only book that exists. That's the only one. Anything outside of that is taboo. This was the school of thought that I was coming out of. And this was in a lot of instances, the tenure that was being taught and the tone that was being presented in Orthodox Christianity, that anything outside of the canon, the gun, anything outside of that chamber belongs to some ammo that we ain't responsible for. So when it came down to the Apocrypha, I'm asking questions like, where did all of these books come from in the search to find my voice? I was running into 5%ers that were talking about the black sun hidden in the human heart. And we'll go into that, into the Qliphoth, all in the quest to find my voice. I was talking to people at the corner back when there used to be a mosque temple on every other block in the hood back in the day. And we used to be building out there in the quest to find my voice. I used to run into some Orthodox Jews in certain parts of Manhattan in the quest to find my voice. I would run into witches and real warlocks that was really playing with those cards and using those stones and those amulets and really subscribing and charging up their talismans in my quest to find my voice. So I'm swimming, and I'm swimming through ideologies, and I'm swimming through my fears, and I'm swimming through the idea that if I learn a such thing, will the Most High God abandon me? I'm swimming, y'all, through this abyss. I was swimming, and a lot of times I drowned and had to start all over. Start all over. I'm all the way here, and then I'm afraid to go any further because I'm afraid of the B word. Blasphemy. I don't want to blaspheme by learning something that existed before Christianity. I'm up here thinking that Christianity is the only thing. I'm seeing all the adults in my day and age, they was only carrying Bibles. That was all they were carrying. If it wasn't a Bible, it was a hymnal based on the scriptures in the Bible. It was those two books. So in this quest to find my voice, the swim was rough, and the tides and the riptides that bring you back onto the shore of your original theology, man, that riptide is fierce. And what they tell you when you're swimming against a riptide, first aid advice, EMS advice. You don't swim against a riptide because you'll tire out and drown. I did that a lot of times, trying to swim against the current. You swim parallel, lateral to the riptide. You, instead of going directly to your target, you have to be able to drift in the direction of your target. You're still going this way, but instead of trying to go straight there, you're allowing the current to guide you there, and you're functioning like a sail. This is what we're doing with our voices. You understand, when we're being introduced to the abyss. And it's real talk, because on the one hand, you don't even have this kind of information being presented, but on the other, they're saying, look, this is the belief system of the Illuminati, and it is. But the Illuminati, they don't believe in belief systems. They're involved in mental alchemy. That is the foundation behind true Illuminism. So when I finally found my voice, and I'm still finding my voice, because we are, as a soul, we are constantly evolving. So my soul is not even, my voice is not even static. That is also dynamic. And that's going to be subject to change. So back when I didn't have the learning, and back when I didn't have the experiences to go with this stuff, it was more like, hey man, you know, this is me. I just want to talk about this. And the voice wasn't there because I didn't have the energetic signature that would indicate a person having had experienced the Qliphoth. So in experiencing this part of the abyss, I had to strip away all of the attributes that made me me. Because you do have to forget about all of these things when you're stepping into a brand new science. What do they say? You have to become a student all over again. Tabula rasa. You have to have a clean slate. You got to start with an erased screen, a blank screen, a clean slate to start off in the abyss. And what causes you to drown in the abyss to find your own voice is these preconceived notions that will weigh you down. They'll be like cinder blocks. It'll be like trying to jump in the river and swim with a whole bag of rocks tied to you. You're going to the bottom. Even if you're Michael Phelps, you're going to the bottom. You can't swim with cinder blocks on you. But the principalities of Nicaea and creating orthodoxy can be a cinder block if you're trying to go from the right hand to the left hand, you understand? And so you're psychologically naked. You're stripping all of that away. You're stripping of how good of a minister you were, how good you were in Sunday school, how much you were a help at CYF. You're stripping all of that away because none of that is getting ready to matter right now. You're going in as an original soul. You're starting off with no titles. You're starting off with no fanfare, with no club. You're starting off with no subscribers. You're starting off with no views, no comments. You're starting off fresh into the abyss, the hidden one. So you, as an adept, you strip all these layers away. And all of these things are what was holding you back from finding your true voice. You have to take away all of the other voices that may have influenced you and find your own. So those are the garments you take off. What mama and them said, what granddaddy and them said, what this guy down the street with the storefront church, what he said, you got to take all of that off. If you're going to embark upon your personal power, the first thing you're going to have to do is find your voice. And so what the darkness does, which is not evil forces as much as they are hidden voices, suppressed voices, regressed voices, dormant parts of your psyche, unawakened parts of your persona. The darkness is squeegeeing that stuff and polishing it away. It's wax on, wax off. Remember that in the old Karate Kid from the 80s? Not the Jaden Smith one, but the Ralph Macchio, Pat Muriuta, whatever his last name was. That one. Wax on, wax off. The darkness in the abyss is polishing away all of the old, outdated philosophies. What you used to think was real is being wiped away in exchange for your true voice. And with this comes true sight and everything else that comes later. But once you're in the abyss and you're all the way on the other side, you're going to see that going into the abyss was not this steep plunge, although the angel who is assigned over it is Abaddon, also known as Apollyon, the destroying angel that was mentioned in the days of Egypt. The one who, the angel that was to pass over and who was striking down all the firstborn, that was Apollyon, also known as Abaddon, the angel with the key to the bottomless pit. What is the bottomless pit? Enter right through here. Or what they say, where the spine passes into the brain, that whole part, the whole neck, is a bottomless pit going into the search for your own voice. Because what you're going to be going down into, what you're going to be descending into after that swim, is a whole universe of power, which we will go into next. So again, this is Super T Sigma. This was my journey into the Qliphoth, starting with the sphere known as the abyss, the hidden one. So before you could become a mage, you have to find your own voice. And in order to find your own voice, you have to discard the old voice.